So I've coached thousands of students all around the planet, and there's one thing in common between all high performance students. They prioritize their studying. They know why they're doing it. They know what can happen and what opportunities they will get and how many doors will actually open just from achieving incredibly high grades. Their grades are not just a number or a letter to them, but they're so much more than that. They're an opportunity to living a more financially successful life, a healthier life, a happier life, not only for them but their families as well. And that's in contrast to what you might call average performing students or below average performing students, because their mindset is just kind of thinking short term. They're more prone to procrastination because they're thinking about immediate pleasures, immediate gratification, rather than looking at the bigger picture and thinking, what do these exams mean to me 2 years down the line or 5 years down the line? And there are two parts to prioritization. The first part is about prioritizing your studying as a whole, really looking at the bigger picture and realizing how important your education will be to your future happiness and the life you're going to live after you graduate. And the second part to prioritization is looking at the smaller picture. So looking at the smaller daily tasks you have to do and prioritizing the most important and urgent tasks over the less important and urgent tasks, because this is a big part of studying smart. You shouldn't be wasting your time focusing on tasks that just aren't that important. So let's take a step back and look at prioritization from the bigger picture. Throughout your education, you're going to be pulled in many different directions. You have your studying, then maybe you have a part-time job, maybe you have friends to go out with, maybe you have extracurricular activities to spend time on. But prioritization doesn't mean that you should ditch all the other things going on in your life. Prioritization doesn't necessarily mean sacrifice. So let me give you an example. My goal at university was to achieve a 4.0 GPA. I prioritized it over everything, almost everything. Like I said, my mental and physical health always come first, as they always will and always should. But just after that was to achieve a 4.0 GPA. And I mean, I was absolutely laser focused on achieving it. I would study however long I needed to. If I needed to study 12 hours a day, then so be it. If I needed to start revising for an exam 2 months ahead of schedule, then so be it. You see, when I was at university, it was relatively easy to see the students that prioritized their studying and were getting decent grades, and those that didn't prioritize their studying and they weren't getting good grades. So for example, I had classmates that would go to party the night before an exam, even though they hadn't prepared for their exam. And of course, as a result, they didn't do very well in their exam. Now, that's fine if that's what they want to do, but I'm assuming that if you're watching this course, then you are striving to achieve at least relatively good grades, right? So I guess it really boils down to how much do you really want it? How much do you really want to achieve incredible grades? And are you willing to pay the price? Because honestly, a lot of people just aren't. So that was the bigger picture. Now let's zoom in and look at how you should be prioritizing your smaller daily tasks, because this is equally as important when it comes to studying smart. We've talked about the Pareto principle earlier on in the class, and that same concept applies here, where 20% of your studying will result in 80% of your grades. So there are some tasks that you really need to prioritize and double down on, whereas there are other tasks that you should reduce the time you spend time on, or even just not do them altogether. And a good way of organizing or choosing which tasks need to be done right now and which tasks needs to be pushed back is by using the action priority matrix, because it is okay to push back some tasks, but it's important that you don't push back and procrastinate on the tasks that really matter. So looking at the action priority matrix, there are two axes: the x-axis, which is the effort involved in order to carry out a task, and the y-axis, which shows the impact the activity will have, so how important that task actually is. Plotting each activity on the action priority matrix lets you see the tasks that give you the greatest return on your effort and helps you adopt the most effective approach for that activity. So I'll give you an example. You have the quick wins, which are the most important and least amount of effort. So for me, going through a past paper for an exam coming would go in this category. It wouldn't take me too long, maybe a couple of hours, but the impact that it would have in terms of preparing me for the exam, like going through that past paper, would be absolutely significant. On the other hand, reading an entire textbook for a subject, I would put that in the hard slogs category, because chances are reading through that entire textbook, firstly, you forget most of what you read, and secondly, 95% of what you read probably won't end up in the exam. It's a high effort, low impact, therefore I'd avoid reading entire textbooks. So going through each category, quick wins. So high impact and low effort, these are the most attractive projects and give you a good return for relatively little effort. Focus on these as much as you can. Past papers, lecture notes, exam questions from your lecturer, those kind of tasks fit in here. Major projects. So high impact, high effort, while these give good returns, they do take a bit longer to complete. So meaning that one major project can crowd out many quick wins. If you're starting a major project, make sure that you complete it quickly and efficiently and that you move on as soon as you can. This might be a class assignment that only makes up 10 or 15% of your grades. It's important that you do it well and you put a lot of effort into it, but you shouldn't be spending weeks on it as it is only 10% of your overall grade. You should be focusing more time on resources, on other areas that you're assessed on that make up a larger proportion of your grade. Fill-ins. So low impact, low effort. You can do these if you've got spare time, but drop them if something better comes up. So these might be helping friends with their assignments. If you've got spare time, sure, help them out. It won't take long, it won't take much effort, and it will help you in a bit in terms of by teaching someone else the material. You're processing it better in your mind and you're understanding it yourself. But if you're busy and you have deadlines approaching, or if you have an exam tomorrow that you have to prepare for, then focus on those more important tasks first. Hard slogs. So low impact and high effort. You should just avoid these completely. These are tasks that give you low returns and steal your time. Tasks like this might be rote learning, for example. So rote learning is where you're just repeating the same material again and again, but you're not really processing it in your mind. It's not effective. There are far better ways to study. So anything that falls into this category, you can pretty much avoid them. So throughout your educational career, you should always be reviewing the tasks that you're doing and asking yourself, is what I'm doing actually going to affect my overall grade? And if it's not, then stop doing it. Unless there are other benefits, then don't do it. You really need to spend your time efficiently and effectively. You don't want to be studying 12 hours a day every day. And it's not necessary if you study smart and you prioritize the important tasks and avoid the unimportant tasks. As always, if you have any questions, just let me know below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.